Welcome everyone. Let's call Monday, February 10th, 2025 Village Trustee meeting into order. First rule of business here is Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 3, agenda review. We need to add something for executive session, you said?
If we can add personnel for executive session, please.
Okay. Number 4, public comment. Should we have done a review and then public comment? But for now, anybody got anything?
No,
Sure, there'll be more a little bit later.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Number 5, approve and accept minutes from Monday, January 27th, 2025 meeting as presented.
I'll move that we approve them.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried to approve the meeting minutes. Number 6, approve and accept village warrants through Thursday, February 6th, 2025.
I move that we approve the warrants through Thursday, February 6, 2025.
And I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second to approve the warrants. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried to approve and accept the warrants. Number 7, present electric facility public hearing. We ran along.
Start.
Me? Or you? Who's presenting the?
I'm more than happy to kick it off and start the facilitation if it's okay with the trustees.
Sure. Yes.
Okay, all right.
I was wondering where you.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Bill Sheets. I'm the Swanton Village Manager. Thanks for being here. I'm not sure, how many do we have online?
2.
And can we fire up the PowerPoint, please, and share that online?
All right.
That's Lynn. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna stand and come over here so I can look at the screen. So I'm really gonna facilitate the flow of information here. So Swan, you're good right there. Am I too close?
No.
What is that? Is that good now? Okay. All right.
Move up the front row if you want.
I'll keep my distance. So Swan Electric, we've been in business for a very long time. We're gonna give everybody a tour of the facilities. This request is based on critical needs. So we have about 3,800 customers comprised of the Village of Swanton, the Town of Swanton, Highgate, and a very small amount in St. Albans, primarily commercial in St. Albans, but a total of 3,800 customers. We currently enjoy the second lowest rate, third about to be second lowest rate in the state of Vermont. So we're proud to say that we are in the lowest 1% of all ratepayers in the state. The big 3, Green Mountain Power, Washington Electric, Vermont Electric Co-op, represent 98% of all electric customers in Vermont. We're part of the Vermont Public Power Supply Authority. 9 munis are part of that, and the others that are in front of us are already in the queue with the Public Utility Commission for rate increases. So we're darn close to being the lowest rate in the state of Vermont. So, next slide, please. This is what we're proposing, but before we get into the details, I want to remind everybody why we're here and what got us here. If you recall, last year at this time, or maybe a little earlier, we attempted to build a $14.2 million public safety facility next door, and we heard loud and clear from the voters. Got defeated 70-30. One of the main things that we heard from the many open houses, literally the quote was, "Why don't you move the electric department next door?" Because this, and you'll see, we'll give you real numbers, this is a much different construct on the impact for our voters and the citizens that we serve, the 3,800 citizens we serve. The last one was an absolute tax rate across the board, primarily the village voters. This one is an evenly spread rate increase for the 3,800 ratepayers. And it's a much less of an impact, for sure. And it's exactly what we asked to do. Because one thing, moving on was one thing, what the no vote did or didn't do is alleviate any of our critical space need issues. So we'll give you again a tour, highlight those, walk you through what we're trying to do. Next slide, please. So as we got here, we didn't just come up with this concept. We worked hard, many, many iterations over the last several months to get to where we were today. So the early project team was myself, you'll see them up here. So it's Dwayne and Darren, so they'll introduce themselves in a moment. The village president, David Winchester, was on the committee, trustee Susie Kelleher, and Weeman Lamphere, so Steve and his partner. Complicated, complex process, do a request for proposals. Numerous contracting companies applied to be our construction manager, and unanimously, Connor Contracting was selected out of a very competitive process. And I can tell you, so since then, we had a whole bunch of meetings to try to narrow down, to present to our voters exactly what the fiscal impact is going to be on you. It's 8.3 million and change, worst case scenario. We'll talk a lot more about that in a lot more detail. What I will say though, because I'd be remiss if I did not, is every single meeting, and hopefully I'm backed up here, every meeting we cut. So the building is not pie in the sky. It's utilitarian with a purpose to meet the critical needs of this organization for the next 50 years. And we did that through the help of our architect and Connor Contracting to get to a point where I think what we're presenting now is a reasonable ask of the community. Next slide, please. So the project site, but before we go on, actually, let's do those quick introductions. So Darren, since we're gonna go in this order, let's start with you.
Yep, I'm Darren Booth, part of the line crew and the head line technician.
Dwayne Kuchar, line foreman, electric department.
David Winchester, village president, big advocate for this solution.
James Lombard, village trustee, certainly in favor.
Susie Kelleher, village trustee, definitely in favor.
Adam Paxman, village trustee, absolutely.
Steve Roy, principal at Weeman Lamphere Architects.
Chris Lynch, project manager and estimator, Connor Contracting.
Mike Connor, president, Connor Contracting.
And I'm Sean Connor, project manager at Connor Contracting.
Okay, thank you. Is Lynn on?
She is on.
So Lynn Paris was also on the team, assistant village manager and controller. Diane's certainly part of the team through the process. How many others do we have online, and can we just make sure that they're aware if they have a question at any time to either do the hand button or kind of interrupt us?
There's one other individual, Denny H, online.
Okay, and the same for you. You don't have to hold your questions to the end. You got something, fired away. Especially if it's toward Darren, you get extra points. Fire at Darren fast and furious, all fast questions. That'd be good. Okay, so the project site, literally right next door. So we're in the village right now at 121st Street. In early 2023, we purchased 124 First Street. So literally you got Elm Street and it's the connecting property in between. So we used $400,000 using ARPA funds at the time with a purpose to build something there. And like we said, the original proposal was a public safety facility, moving the police and the fire department here, then allowing everybody else who remained to spread out and utilize space, additional space here. So that's changed a little bit. We still believe that we can meet our organizational goals again for the next 50 years by doing the same exact thing with electric. Important to point out, if you've been here during the daytime, when you walk in that entrance, the main entrance, you come in, the PD is literally in a room 1/4 of this size, total space for 9 full-time equivalents on the left side. Everything on the right is our public-facing professionals, Diane and her crew on the right-hand side, the safe, our electrical engineer. So what we're talking about doing is moving all of those folks, and then when we do the tour, most of this wing where the electric department lives along with their equipment. So they would go next door, this project site. We were very fortunate to kind of repurpose the bulk of our civil engineering because the building scope didn't change that much. So we've been through DRB a couple times and we know what the variances are, we know what's allowable, so we're very comfortable that the project site is going to meet all of our needs for this project, kind of as is, and we inherited a bunch of previous studies, so that was good. Next slide, please. And if you have any questions along the way, just interrupt. So this is really just a view of showing what the building looks like. When you come in, that front parking on the left-hand side as you're looking at the diagram, that's gonna be public parking. There's no ingress and egress off of Robin Hood for safety reasons, so you'll come in from Elm Street, or you can do it the old-fashioned way and come up Robin Hood, take Short Street, and come in this way. But we assume most people are gonna come in Elm Street and park here. So parking's here or here. The electric department, the left side as you look at it, and we got poster boards out there which will really show it much more effectively. That's where essentially the front office is gonna be. I really wanna highlight now, and the trustees were really supportive of this. When you first walk in, you're gonna go to the unsecure part of the lobby. We're gonna have a much more secure spot where we're gonna interact with our customers. I don't love how we have this right here. Anybody can walk in at any time, literally walk into any office, and for security reasons, it's not the best. So here, you'll have that, you have access to the ADA compliant restrooms. And the most important thing I think that we can offer to the public, I'm not gonna say when it's abused, until it's abused, and hopefully that's never, is people will have the ability to come in and utilize the meeting room, which is sizable, and possibly, depending on the circumstances, the smaller room on the right-hand side. So that's a big add for the community and community functions. And I bet that the trustees are gonna tell you that they're not gonna charge much. I gotta be careful, we've never had that conversation, but I would propose that it be free for the public. Just threw it out there, sorry.
Another wonderful benefit of Swanton Electric.
It's very, very beneficial. So again, we'll walk you through. The only complicated part of this site really for civil engineering is stormwater treatment, retention, things like that. They're gonna walk you through that. They're the experts in that. But I'm kind of gonna give a quick run through to start with. The part that you see over here is the only part where you'll have ingress and egress, not for the public, but for us. That is so that we can get deliveries of heavier equipment, large transformers, utility poles, and the like. So that's the purpose. Tractor trailer can come right through. We get a lot of deliveries on a regular basis. Anything else on the civil part before I move on, Dwayne or Darren? No? Okay, all right, yeah, next slide, please. So this is a look, but you know what? You're in the room and there's not many of you, so you're gonna get special treatment. I don't know why we wouldn't. Okay. Why not, right? You get that one. Front row. Pays dividends. Oh, for the camera, I'm sorry. Look, how about this? All right, I didn't think it'd be this complicated, sorry. Can you still see that one? You got that one? Camera's good? Okay. Probably can't quite see it. So the front part on the left side, the meeting spaces, again, you're gonna walk in, the break room. The layout's pretty good. We think it's a very good flow. It took us a few iterations to get to this point, but a little over 18,000 square feet. And this is not us just guessing, right? These are experts that have worked in this field, both in the office environment and in the electric department with their equipment for a combined decades and decades. So this is based on their identification of their critical needs. The next slide should highlight each section. Oh, keep going, one more. Okay, so the entry we talked about, secure entryway, open to the public. If somebody is gonna be utilizing our space for a meeting or a public function, they would come in, we'd have a formatted process where they would be given an identification card, be assigned to them, so they would be held accountable, the in-out access, and they could use the training room. Next slide, please. So this is the training room we talked about. Steve, help me out. In comparison to this room, about?
It's about 1,000 square feet, I believe. This one's 1,400,
Okay.
so it's not quite 2/3.
Okay, so about 2/3, and capacity again is what?
Depends on the setup. As it's set up right there is 48 people for a training seminar.
Yeah. So the training piece is really important. A lot of training requirements for our folks. in many departments, but primarily for the electric department, they have monthly training through an organization called NEPA that they have to meet safety and training certifications. And that's hosted here, usually in this room. We'll end up hosting it over there. And the boardroom, same thing. The boardroom will essentially be where that nice big table will go to, and that will be where our trustee meetings are. And if there's an opportunity, I assume we would avail that to the public as well on an as-needed basis. Next slide, please. Okay, so this side is the office staff, and Diane, can you take it away, please? You want to walk us just through the right-hand side there and what we're going to utilize that space for?
So, yeah, this way, as it stands right now, we have 5 desks in our office. So there's literally no privacy. We have an HR clerk in there who could take a first report of injury for somebody, 0 privacy. If we wanted to have a conversation with a customer dealing with a repayment plan or just discussing their bill in detail, we're all open so everyone in that room could hear. This gives us office space for Bill and Lynn and HR and our grant specialist. There's another office in there that we can use to have a private conversation with a customer if we need to. And I think there'll be 3 of us in the main customer service area. We would be more spread out and have a more comfortable office setting.
Okay, good. Any questions? All right. Good, thank you. Yeah, and if you have not had the pleasure of being here, this right here is now an overflow office. This is our grants administrator, project specialist, and so we're out of space, and she lives here. She will also go with us to the new facility. Dwayne, you want to take it away on your side?
Sure, yeah. So on our side, you'll see that we have the supervisor and the lead lineman's office that are shared together. Right beside that is the meter testers, meter technicians. As we're rolling out AMI, there's equipment that we're testing, that we're running, and that will be sourced there, as well as our engineering specialist is also in there. Then the line workers, the rest of the line crew has got their office next door. And we also have the hydro operator, or I should say the head operator for the hydroelectric plant, which also has an office when he needs to come down here and go through down here.
Next slide, please. Do you want to walk us through this part? Dwayne?
Sure. So as you can see, we have our break room, kitchen room, which is access for everyone. They have the large general storage area for all the files and stuff that the front office needs to keep, as well as us. Right beside that is the fire rated storage area that we need to keep some of the files in. We have our locker rooms and our bathrooms, as well as our laundry that's in all together in another section right there that you can see. We have our electrical room, the mechanical room. That pretty much sets that all up right there.
Okay, thank you. Next slide.
And though, and though we don't need it right now, we do have a lactation room. I think we're like looking, again, 50 years down the road, we might need to have a need for a lactation room, so we do have one.
And it is required that we have that.
You can talk about your...
In the garage space, yes. So obviously, we kind of threw in there so that you guys could all see exactly what we have for equipment. You'll see how we have it stored right now, as well as a lot of that is outside, not undercover. This is going to satisfy all the needs, we believe, for the next 50 years. There will be certain things that are, obviously all the stuff that's outside that will be able to be inside undercover, where it will last a lot longer for us to hopefully continue to maintain our lowest rates, some of the lowest rates in the state. And that's our key. It's our goal.
Okay, thank you. Any questions so far? All right. So a couple of bird's eye view. The next, this is from First Street looking, wait a minute, is it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Next slide. And from the parking lot, this will be the parking lot out front, so this is essentially how the entrance is going to look like. I don't know that we are 100% on the colors yet, but the design is fairly locked in. Next slide, please. And another from Elm Street, again, no egress out Elm Street, so it'll be ingress only into the parking area. Next, please. Okay, one more. So working diligently with Connor Contracting, they came up with this estimate based on their expertise. And I'll let them weigh in here in a second, but a couple things I want to point out here. It's required for us to present to the public, anytime we're doing one of these, we present you with worst case scenario. Nothing is more distasteful if a community says it's going to be X to build and we want bonding authority for this, but yet the next year we say, you know what, we missed the mark terribly and we gotta go back for more. So it's why we have put all of our trust, and rightfully so, into this process. So we believe, before I turn it over to Connor Contracting to talk about this a little bit, we think that there remains an opportunity to have considerable possible savings off of this. And I'll give you an example, because I got a really nice email today. So there's a line item where you see property remediation, right? That property next door is enrolled in the state's umbrella program. So essentially, once we get a bill of health that the soil has been remediated, we get indemnified by the state of Vermont by saying anything found in the future, you're good, you're signed off on. That's probably based on KAS, our engineering firm that we utilize for brownfields, worst case scenario estimate. We were notified today in an email, over the weekend actually, that between the Petroleum Cleanup Fund and brownfields funds that are available through the Regional Planning Commission, 80% of that's likely to be met. That's a massive savings. So we're saying right now that's a $300,000 good for us. There's a lot of unknowns and uncertainty out there right now. Let's not kid ourselves. There's a lot of tariffs. There's a lot of things that might be happening that might make this more difficult. But that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And there's built in 10% contractors contingency, 5% owners contingency. So what we're hoping is, and I'll let them explain the process, that there's room. Once we get a successful bond, the next step literally is to start to drill down on that. And I'll turn it over to Mike or Sean or anybody from Team Connor here to walk us through that process.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity and the opportunity to work with the community to build this beautiful building. My name's Mike Connor. We've been in business for 35 years. In the last 5 years, we've built 3 DPW projects, one for St. Albans Town, one for Georgia, one for Milton. Just finished Milton a few months ago. I've had the pleasure of working with William Lamphere in Georgia and Milton, and we're looking forward to doing this project together as well. The last 5 to 10 years has been a challenge in our industry. Labor rates have gone, significantly raised. Expenses in the mechanical, electrical end have increased probably 20%, 30% in the last 2-3 years since COVID. So it's a challenging time, and it's not going to get any less expensive from what we can see. Historically, we've built a database of project costs that we rely on while trying to make adjustments for real-time issues that have come up in the last couple of years. Bill mentioned the legislation that's pending, the changes by the day with our fearless leader, and that's why we have a 10% contingency. This is a several-month project. We're still in the fact-finding mode. We're trying to build the most responsible budget we can, responding to the design team's lead, and based on historic project costs and what we learned to date. So the building project cost, as you can see, is $335 a square foot. That seems like a lot of money, and it is. But you've got a modern building that's built with a very expensive mechanical system to meet the needs of today's heating and cooling and code requirements for fresh air. And William Lanford has designed a very nice but responsible shell around it. Half the building is going to be built wood frame, the office component, and the metal building, the alignment is going to be a custom structural steel building with insulated metal panels. So I don't know if anybody has any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them, but
I'm curious if you think that the 10% is going to be sufficient, seeing as we have impending 25% tariffs on steel, aluminum, lumber, and then possible retaliatory tariffs from Canada for the same amount.
I wish I knew. This is the first estimate we've created of 3 estimates. The first one's a conceptual estimate based on project cost and the drawings that have been developed to date. The second one is a design development estimate when the design is probably 75% complete. And the ultimate test is after we put the job out to bid on the competitive marketplace. We're going to take and work hard to dissect the job into 18 divisions and put out competitive bid packages for all the scope of work so that the owner can enjoy that competitive arrangement. So that takes several months of design time, effort, and we're working in tandem with them once the approval from the voters happens in March. So I can't predict what President Trump is going to do. I don't think anybody can. But we'll work hard to do the best we can with what we're handed.
I think one of the maybe the things to add to that, the 25% tariff sounds really scary, and it is. But at the same time, you know, the components are they're a big part of the project number, but they're not the whole project. So when you think about a 25% tariff, it wouldn't equate to a 25% increase in cost.
No.
There's a lot of labor that goes into it, and there's a lot of other things that may not be touched. So, scary and unpredictable, I think, but
Also, our contingency is a large number now, it's 10%. But as the budgets get refined and post-bid, once we have hard numbers from subs, we enter into a GMP, guaranteed maximum price contract with a much lesser contingency, somewhere in the range of 3 to 5% probably. So as we get more information and as we confirm budgets on the street with our local subs, the contingency will be reduced.
Yeah, that's a great question, but the example of saving maybe the 300,000 in the remediation, that might be able to be utilized somewhere else in a situation where we gotta see paying for some unforeseen tariff situation.
To add one more piece to that contingency item, we treat that contingency as if it's owner's money, and we're always looking out for the best interest of the town. So none of that money gets spent without sitting down and having a conversation about what changed or what unforeseen condition arose that we need to use some of that. But on every one of the DPW projects we've done to date, we've been giving credits back of that contingency. Anything that's not spent goes back to the town and helps pay down the bond faster. So
there's also 2 definitions to the contingency. Right now, it's an estimating contingency. When we convert to a fixed price contract, it's called the construction manager's contingency, which is reserved for unforeseen circumstances that may have slipped through the cracks somehow, or concealed conditions that weren't known at the time. Bill mentioned environmental concerns. There's also some old foundations that need to be removed. We're trying to understand exactly how much there is there so we can quantify in the site work budgets what we think it's going to cost to deal with those foundations. Are we going to have to jackhammer them as an example to blast them into small pieces so you can load them out, recycle them possibly, crush them in a crusher. We'll be looking at those alternatives to see if there's a way we can reuse that or make it into a usable product for someone else.
Any other questions in the room? Any questions online? Okay. All right. Next slide, please. So if it were right now, present day, and we had worst case scenario. We went out to the Vermont Bond Bank and said, we need to borrow $8.3 million for a term of 30 years at 4.37%. That rate impact is 14.3%. That number sounds scary. But we are the lowest rate, and I don't want to minimize the impact. We get that any increase is an increase and it impacts our ratepayers. We understand that completely. We're trying to put together something that is reasonable, and we feel that we've done that. Next slide, please. So here's what it looks like. Really, probably residential is all we need to concentrate on for this discussion. And it's a range. 600 kilowatts on the left, it shows you what the increase is, and essentially it's a 37 cents a day. If you average 600 kilowatts for your bill monthly, that's what your daily increase is gonna be. If it was 1,000 kilowatt hour usage per month, your increase would be 60 cents a day. And if it's somewhere in between, or anybody that's in the room, online, or watching at home, if you wanna know exactly what your worst case scenario impact is, you can call us, you can come in the door, we can pull up your bill, we can tell you exactly what it would look like between average usage rates last year and this year, next year. I'll actually check that. The way it works is we would apply to the bond bank. You only pay interest on the first year. Your first full principal payment is the following year. So we may not, we don't know, we may not see a rate increase until 2026. 10 years after the last one, which is unheard of in this environment, because we've been very blessed to have a great functioning electric department with a very high producing hydroelectric capability. Any questions on the impact here?
I'll add one more thing.
Yeah.
It also gives us a lot more time to hopefully see a decrease in interest rates.
It's true.
So.
Yeah, fingers crossed, and even a
Fingers
marginal decrease in rates is significant savings for sure. Next slide. And this is the comparison chart. So, you know, proudly again, we tout it all the time. We're the lowest 1% of all ratepayers in the state of Vermont. And there are people in neighboring communities that would love and deeply desire to be our customers based on these rates. So you can see where we sit. Let's just use the final column on the right. We sit in third place for the average typical bill at 1,000 kilowatt usage at $128.18. You saw what the increase was. That is not even going to vault us down to fifth place. Oh, by the way, everybody above us is already in the queue with the public utility commissions for double-digit rate increases. We still will likely be the second lowest power rate in the state of Vermont, even with a successful bond and this rate increase. So we're in pretty good shape compared to all others. Most people in the electric community would love to have our problems, for sure. Next slide, please. So while it's a critical need for the electric department to move next door and take care of their needs for the next 50 years, here's the additional benefits. So we talked about this because this is also critically important. So the police, again, sitting in what is essentially 2.5 offices, 2 offices and a closet to do the business they do every single day with 9 full-time equivalents. It's candidly embarrassing. Here's what happens immediately. If the bond is approved and it's built and we all move out, they immediately gain a massive amount of square footage. So on the tour, if you don't know where my office is, well, welcome to Chief Matt Sullivan's new office. We have our walk-in safe for all of our documents, fire rated. Welcome to our new, what we don't have right now, a very secure temporary evidence room for drugs and guns. That is much more secure, efficient, and effective than using a remodeled closet, which is what we use now. Additionally, when we take the tour, you're going to see where the first utility, the bucket is parked. That big door, that big bay will belong to the police department. So they won't have to have the bay halfway down right now like they do, so that when they do a seizure, they do a search warrant, there are people walking by a car with evidence tape on it before we can sign and execute the search warrant. It is not the way to do modern police business. That will remedy some of that. And by the way, we're doing this right now. Everything that we're doing is they're just gaining space. We're not talking about Any additional costs for another bond, for remodeling, we just will let them expand. So they will additionally, probably not ideal to see it tonight, but right behind us is our substation. And there's a building that is shared right now, big long building. Picture the front 2/3 as being kind of public works. And then there's a kind of a pole barn storage as part of the substation. So two things are gonna happen. We're gonna cordon off that area for security out of the substation. Public Works will get that long space. And then we will do a chain link fence along the back side of it, and there will be an independent gate for the police. So when you seize a vehicle, you can actually store it in a secure area, daytime, under video surveillance, and do it the right way. So you can prove in a court of law that nobody messed with your evidence. And that's the way to do it. Or long-term storage for any seized vehicle can go in there. And there's space that the electric department has agreed that we can utilize. We just gotta pay for the gate. And we know that's not your cost, it's a standalone little add-on that we'll do ourselves. But big gains for these folks. And when I tell you we need your help, there's a lot at stake. Right now, we are trying to have a modern policing department, and I'm proud of that police department, and I think we all are, while asking them to live in a closet. And long term, it's not gonna work. It's just, it's not functional. So this is an additional benefit, but a massive benefit for the organization. Next slide, please. And then Public Works. So Public Works, you'll see they're gonna pick up some garage space back there as well. That middle bullet is that secure outdoor storage for equipment. And then when we do the tour, the way this was designed, again, 50 years ago, our current building, it's a raised concrete platform, and they'll pick up additional space storage there for their needs, because the electric department's going to move all of their stuff out and bring it next door. So big wins for Public Works as well. This is the first of 4 public information sessions. I think you can tell I like to talk, and they said you're not doing 34 this time. You're gonna do 4, no more than, so this is 1 of 4. So we got next Saturday at 1, the following Wednesday at 6, and then our joint budget presentation meeting to meet the requirements of the vote with the town trustees, our select board, on the 24th. So those are the 3 remaining sessions. Next slide, please. Questions here in the room for any of us before we go mobile on a tour? Anyone in the room first? Anyone online have
I'm
questions?
gonna add the slides show so I can see.
Yes, yep.
I thought it was done.
Do we have, it looks
Okay,
like,
right here.
okay.
No questions.
That's not, no chat or anything?
No.
Okay. All right.
We're back. Thank you for taking the tour. Any questions? You guys could see how much space the electric company takes up back there and how much that's going to open up for Public Works.
So, question on the south side of the facility towards Short Street, is there going to be a tension fabric structure or anything covering anything out there, like poles or anything? No? It's going to be open?
Just planned to be a 6-foot perimeter fence
Okay.
around that area.
We talked about it. We didn't feel the need to protect it to that regard site-wise. If somebody wants to really steal a utility pole, they're probably going to if they can somehow get in there, but there's really no reason to make that privacy level.
They're in a cradle, and for unloading and reloading, it's not really great for them to even have to try and navigate through something like that. So,
Sure.
good question.
Yeah, I figured add more to it. I get you.
And that opens up more real estate on this side of the campus for Public Works and everything outside, let alone inside the building, but outside on the campus as well.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so the rate increase is shared across everybody that is connected to Swanton Electric, correct?
All 3,800
All
customers
3,800
will.
customers
Correct.
receive that rate increase.
That's correct.
What percentage of power is generated locally, and do we buy any of it from from other places?
We do. So again, we're part of the Municipal Vermont Public Power Supply Authority. It ranges based on year, but because of our ability to produce hydro, we're 100% renewable. 70 to 80% of our load requirements for our 3,800 customers are produced by our hydroelectric facility. Anything beyond that, we go into a pooled power supply purchase through VEPSA. They're the experts. They find the best deals. Examples are McNeil and various other entities that are out there. And there are rare circumstances where you got to go out and find power. But we are blessed because often it's the reverse. We meet our load requirements based on hydro production, and we sell to buyers on the market. And that's how we have stayed so low with our rates over all those years.
Is your hydro plant over by 207?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was reading that the $20 million bond or so, the last payment was being made, and I think there was mention of that. Is any part of the funds that we're going to pay that going to be going towards building this facility, or?
No, to really clarify, we thought it was in fairness to our customers to present the worst case scenario. So this impact would be on the full impact if we went out and borrowed $8.3 million. The bond is already expired. That was a previous bond for a hydroelectric facility. So there is room to make purchases in other areas. But in fairness, to apples, the true impact on our ratepayers, if we borrowed $8.3 million to do this project, is exactly that rate increase we talked about, 14.3%.
Right. So, but yes, we're done making that payment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any questions? Damon, anything?
No.
Do we have anything online? Okay, I think we can move on if you're good with it.
Okay. Well, it's back to you, Bill, for the village manager update.
Oh,
So I'm just going to speak about other things. So if you're only here for the presentation related to the new building, you may be excused.
Oh, let me check. Okay.
Oh, that's not very nice.
Thank you, gentlemen.
They'll be back, though.
See you Saturday.
Thank you very much. And just for you guys, the work that Connor and everybody has put together, working in the tours that we've done with facilities that they just finished in the local areas, it's been a good collaboration to see what they've done to keep costs lower for those folks as well. And we even incorporated
Drive
that
safe.
into the design.
keep warm.
Thank you all.
Thank you, appreciate it. Have a great
Be
night.
safe.
Make it easy, though.
Okay, trustees, we ready?
We're ready, go.
All right, so it's not an exhaustive list. I'm very mindful we have a lot going on right now, but just a few updates. So water, we had a fiber problem. I got a call early on Friday morning, and it did turn out to be in fact a cut fiber line that they were unaware of. So plant was operating normally. However, no ability to alarm and the alarms to go to hydro for our personnel to be called out. So we had to go on a hybrid schedule, and Avery took one for the team. Every 12 hours, we had to go in and physically inspect the plant just to make sure it was operating normally.
Yeah.
Today, as of about 5:30, fiber has been restored and the alarm has been tested and is working properly. So we're back on the normal schedule. The other progress on the chemical pumps is slow. We're trying to find an industry expert that could come in and wire the first one so that we don't make mistakes because they're expensive, and then we can do the remaining 11 in order after we get that lesson in the first one. So a little bit of a long weekend for the water folks, but we got through it.
When you say fiber, you mean fiber optics?
Fiber optics,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I assumed.
Fiber communication, so the beauty of technology, they were able to pinpoint it 4,000 feet away from the plant, and it looks like squirrel damage.
You're kidding, I was gonna
Squirrels are
ask.
expensive. So, yeah,
It's pretty common.
yeah, it's just, but,
So
you
they
know,
like fiber optic
so you think about how much that squirrel costs us in overtime. It's just, and wear and tear on our employees. Let's transition over to wastewater. So again, for those that are not familiar, we're in the middle of a multi-million-dollar plant upgrade to improve our ability to control phosphorus in Lake Champlain. Complicated process, very tight space, a lot of remodeling. They're finally framing, so the effluent building framing is happening. The other piece with wastewater, and you'll find this interesting, we just had our joint meeting with planning. Planning reached out to us and queried us on what our capacity is to meet future wastewater needs. So even though it wasn't a village-specific project, it was a fairly large housing project, and the question was, what's your capacity? So we've talked about this before, but I reached out for Aldrich and Elliott and confirmed that we're at 48 to 49% of capacity, averaging about 440,000 gallons a day. We're permitted for 900,000. Of course, you don't want to get past 85% to meet surge, but even in addition, if you add a 15 unit housing development, for example, 1% impact, that's it. So we have significant room for growth. Water, get asked that all the time. Water's a different conversation because if we had to, we could add another clarifier to the back of the building. So I really think sky's the limit when it comes to our ability to increase water sales, for sure. But wastewater, that's where we're at. We do have to be mindful of the Highgate extension up to the airport and the unknowns of what that brings on both water and wastewater impacts, because at a brewery, at a cheesemaker, that's significant on your wastewater production.
Under 50% capacity right now?
We are.
How much of an impact was the cheese plant on
cheese plant's
capacity?
Significant.
But it had its own means. Of
Yeah,
it had its own lagoon.
It had its own permits.
It had its own
Lagoons
lagoon,
and what
but the
they could-
lagoon then transfers through a pipe directly to our lagoons. And then they pay a fee based on the gallons. They're not doing it right now, but in high waters, they're required to keep up with that lagoon management, and they have to pay based on the amount of gallons they transition to our lagoon. And we allowed them 10,000 gallons a day last year, which is less than 1% of our capacity, no impact at all. And they pay for that in fees. Any questions on water, wastewater? Moving over to Public Works, definitely a busy year. I think we're all well aware that they've had to go out a lot, and there are those pesky little storms, and those can often be the worst. So they've been out a lot, but I talked to you, and I want to confirm that liquid application we talked about. So we're the village, right? So we're a little smaller than the town or other comparables. So we went to a liquid application of magnesium chloride this year. So in particular on 2 of the trucks, and it's not much, and it's not every time. It's like 30 gallons total each time. This is the same material they use on dusty roads to keep the dust down. That's exactly it. So you have that, then you have salt. Dean estimates that he saved, including this morning when every other community was out. He went out early. Our folks didn't get called out. It's happened 4 or 5 times that way. So this liquid is paying for itself. And just the ability to less wear and tear on our personnel, because you go out 7 days in a row, and it's a drain. So it has really been beneficial for them. So I just wanted to update you on that.
Keeping applications down.
Keeping applications down. It was really an experiment. It's proving cost effective in more ways than one, personnel included. So it's been good.
Salt shed holding up.
We're okay right now.
Okay.
We're okay. I mean, it's like anything else. You set a winter budget and you hope it's a normal winter. And if it's not, you got to make adjustments somewhere, and you can't control Mother Nature. The public will never accept. Yeah, we got no salt today. You're good. Just good luck. Good luck on those roads.
Drive slower.
Let's transition up to hydro. Some exciting news there. You all are aware that we're working with Celeste Fay and her group on identifying most efficient and effective fixes for our hydro problems, as well as identifying significant grant funding potentials through the Department of Energy. So she's here on site. We're collaborating with our VEPSA partners, Morrisville, Guaranteed Morrisville and Enosburg Village, possibly Hardwick, looking for up to $100 million collectively between the 4 of us for critical updates for our plant and our grid. So that includes lines, that includes everything, and some of the stuff, we're a long ways away from even coming before you to say, hey, we think we got a grant for this and here's the match. The match is like 10%. So you literally, yeah, you might have a match of a couple million down the road, but you're getting 18 million. Or, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just, it's one of those things where it's
good news.
it's a good possibility. So she and her team are on site at all 3 businesses to include our hydro. We start at like 10 o'clock. We come back here, we brainstorm as a group, we have a big teams call, then we do the pre-application and we'll see if we're successful. So some of these pools of money, now, I think just came out an executive order, and guess what is prioritized under President Trump? Hydroelectric.
Nice.
So we're going to now be elevated in that funding stream. So for those of you that haven't been following, our hydroelectric facility, while a tremendous asset, is also aging and very expensive. And we're in various states of disrepair and in need of upgrades for the exciters. So the exciters are essentially what fires up your turbines to run. And to replace those right now for them is about $1 million. So if we could identify $800,000 of free money, we're by all means going to take advantage of that kind of stuff. Everything that we're doing today is likely 3 to 5 years down the road. So it's not a quick fix by any means, but it really exciting working with her and the crew. The hydro's been great.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
MVU field trip season again for this semester. So we have lined up police, fire, and water plant, I think 8 to 10 classes. So again, anything we can do, we still do that hydroelectric internship. We'll do it again this year. Anything we can do for MVU, we'll do. So it's been great. And last but not least, grants. You're all aware that right now, many of the grants federally have been paused, put on hold. So for example, we got a very favorable phone call and email on our $20,000 request for tree removal. So the first piece of that grant. However, it was told may not happen because of the freeze. So we look good. We have the ability to advance in the queue, but the queue is frozen. And that's true across the board. So trust me when I say there is plenty going on, and a 3-month delay in that queue shouldn't cause us any issue. We're still really full speed ahead, working with Heidi and Lynn and everybody to pursue all opportunities. They're just holding them right now.
Yep.
So that's
Keep your foot on the gas on that.
That's all
I mean, that's
I
all
have.
we can do.
That's all we can do.
Keep your foot on the gas.
Nervous of the wastewater grant.
The existing, they say that if you're, like our wastewater grant right now, we actually just got final sign off from the state of Vermont on the 1 million. There's the additional 800,000. That's all been allocated. There's no clawback. Once it's assigned to the state and the state manages it and the state goes through that onerous process and grants it to us, I think we're good. I think it's anything in the future that's, they gave us a list. There's 36 words that you can't use in any application because AI is viewing them and it'll pop them out. That's just the new reality. So we will make adjustments to how we proceed, but we're going to aggressively pursue everything that we can that's beneficial for us.
Mhm.
That is all I have.
Okay, fantastic. Any other necessary business? Number 9.
Just one thing for me, any update on the Jones Court stormwater?
No, and there won't be for a while. So there is a push statewide. I think you might have seen it on the news where legislators are tackling that as well. So again, for those following along at home, 3-acre stormwater is impacting every community that there is. We have 2 locations. One is located here, 121st Street. The other is, we ended up with ownership for stormwater purposes of Jones Court development. So we successfully applied for and received a $49,900 grant for both to do the engineering assessment. Once that design is done and approved, you have 5 years by law to implement the fix. So what we're hoping, and what all communities are pushing the state of Vermont now, is to find a way to fund those fixes. Because the proposal here to fix it, by the way, which was very simple, about $120,000. So we said, yeah, let's not do that. Let's see if the state's gonna step up and take care of it for us. So, other than that, other than you're not alone, and there are many communities banging their fist on the table and legislators at the State House saying, we gotta get some common sense here, to be determined, but we do have years to figure this out.
Okay. This way I can report back.
Yep.
All right, so I got Hometown Heroes banner update. I have 6 slots left, and the sale for those ends on the 10th of March. There is a price decrease in the banners. They are now $130 because I got a new vendor. So it's $130 for the banner and the brackets. So I will, if people who have already paid want a refund $45 is available. Just contact me directly, call me, text me, email me, and I'll make a list and remit it to Trish in the office. She's just gonna do like one group of refunds, one big, yeah, it's just easier for checks and balances. So you have until the 30th of April to let me know if you would like your $45. If you were sponsored by me, then there will be no refund for that. So just please get in contact with me, and if you don't, the funds are just going to go into a replacement fund for brackets as needed.
Okay, any other? Okay, that's the end of any other business. And number 10, executive session.
I move that we find that we enter into executive session for the trustees to receive confidential personnel information for which the premature disclosure of it to the general public would clearly place the trustees and others at a substantial disadvantage.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have first and a second to enter executive session. We'll take a pause for people to disperse. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, appreciate it. If
coming
you
out.
have any other
Appreciate
questions,
it.
let us know.
We
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
to any of us.
When would it start being built if it gets approved?
Well,
Not likely till early fall at the earliest, so a couple things have to happen. We have to do what's called a 108 and get permission from the state of Vermont to proceed. That's an electric utility requirement. Additionally, we gotta get a green light on all the brownfields over there, and then it just takes time. So the hope though would be substantial construction this year so they can then work through the winter. Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, guys, take care.
Take care.